Welcome back once again on this Sunday afternoon. We appreciate your time here on this end part of what has been a long week. Sitting here talking with Bob Vergils. He is Communications Director, Marketing with Monroe Public Schools, but also your other hat that you wear on weekends and sometimes during the weekend evenings, PA announcing for not only our the beloved Michigan Wolverines basketball program, but you were here for 20 years?
Yes, I was.
20 years, Toledo Walleye, Toledo Storm, and this, without doubt, you have said in interviews, was the greatest spectacle in front of you. Take a look.
Throws the helmet off, and they drift out to center ice. Here we go. Trevor Sen.
With my mic still on.
Yes.
Here's Tasker with a right. Sen with a right. Tasker with a right, and a right, and a right, and a right.
If you were to extend out to Tasker's left about 20 feet, I was right there.
Go and take us through what's going through your mind right now. Are you saying anything?
I'm not, well, I am, but I can't say it on TV. But I'm writing down the time because I know we're going to get two guys for 5 minutes. I'm writing down their names and numbers because I know that immediately when they come off the ice, they'll both get 5 minutes for fighting. And by this time in the sports arena, as you can imagine, the roof was about to come off because the fans were just going so crazy.
This was in TSA, Toledo Sports Arena.
Yes.
And in your estimation, who won?
There was no winner. The fans did. That was.
But this is the most watched hockey fight on YouTube, and it happened right in front of your eyes.
Right in front of me, yeah. And at that time, there was no YouTube.
That's right.
Someone had to. That footage is all by Denny Robidoux, he is the one guy who has seen every Toledo hockey game, Storm and Walleye. No one else has seen even I missed several during my years with the Storm and several with Walleye because I had kind of branched out by that time. But Denny has seen and videotaped every game there's been in those two teams' history.
You've had so many great experiences. What's it like just being so linked to Toledo hockey history? I mean, not only the Storm, but you were there for the first goal for the Walleye as well, and then talk about walking away from it.
It was really interesting when I walked away. I knew it was time. Yeah. It was 20 years, and I had told the Walleye the year before, I just want to do one more year. That'll be an even 20. And I did know that they had somebody who was in the wings who was good enough to do it. See, all the other years, I never really felt that there was anybody who really had the talent to do it. But I knew with Anthony Bellino, he had that talent, and he was good enough, and it was time for him to move in. And he and I are Monroe neighbors.
Yeah, well, that's nice to say.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
I'm sure he appreciates
it. But it was time for me to go, and I've gone to a couple games this year. It's very difficult. I went to one where Anthony wasn't announcing, and the announcer who was there was not very good, and he missed the 1 minute mark twice. And I grabbed him as he walked out. I said, "If you need me to do it, buddy, I can do the 1 minute."
Oh, brother.
But they do use a recording of me in the third period. So.
I mean, you hear it from out-of-towners. My folks who live in San Antonio were in the Huntington Center for the first time over this Christmas holiday. And I mean, your reflections on what a great facility Toledo has.
It's unbelievable. There were times I literally would pinch myself and say, "This is Toledo's hockey facility."
Yeah.
It was just amazing. Remember, I had spent 16 years with a sports arena, which meant I spent 16 years hearing people say what a lousy place this is, and oh, by the way, I'm going to buy tickets tomorrow night too.
Right.
But the Huntington Center is just, it has to be the nicest facility in all of minor league hockey. And have I been to others? I've been to some.
Yeah.
But I can't believe anything's as good.
Still a great game to watch, though, as far as minor league ranks is concerned, yeah?
It is, and it's good for the fans. I know with the Walleye this year, the team has struggled.
Right.
But still, you want to entertain the people, and they have mascots, and they have funny games, and they have people in the stands trying to cheer people up and throwing T-shirts and all the kinds of stuff that we could never do at the sports arena. And they really try to make that a remarkable event. And people will remember the event, but 2 weeks later, they can't tell you the score.
Chrysler Arena, you said you still get butterflies sometimes walking in there. They've done a bunch of upgrades over the last couple of years to try to improve the lighting. It was one of the keys. I know it was a very dark facility for years, but talk about that experience. Obviously, that team just beating all expectations last year. You followed them along the way. You were there for some incredible games. I went to Indiana. I don't want to say anything about that game.
But it was an incredible game.
Yes, it was.
It was an incredible game.
But talk about switching from sport to sport, and if there's anybody out there today who aspires to do what you have done over the last couple of decades, what's your advice for them?
Do as many games as you can. If somebody says, hey, we need you to do our high school sport, or we need an announcer for a junior high sport, do it. I still take on high school events. In a couple of weeks, I'll be doing high school hockey for Monroe High School. I'll do another basketball game for Monroe High School. Do as many as you can, learn as much as you can, and then figure out what your style is going to be. I have a certain style. People, in fact, I still do Wayne State University basketball, and the other day there was someone there at a game, and he grabbed me as I was running back in to do the second half. He said, by the way, he said, are you the guy who does the Tigers? I said, yes, I am. He said, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And he said, why are you doing this level? I said, because I like the sport, I like the people, and Wayne State gave me my basketball start.
But there's a real enthusiasm in your voice. I mean, Indiana University, for anybody who went there, anybody who grew up in the Hoosier State, they know Chuck Crabb's name, and I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but he has a very, very distinct cadence. And with you and introducing those hockey teams, I mean, there was a buildup of excitement waiting for those names to be read, and you punched it at those times when you wanted to, you know?
Absolutely, because these are the Olympians. They're now that we don't have astronauts, they're some of our last American heroes.
Yeah.
And especially with the women's team. The men's team, most of them play in the NHL already. The women's team, they'll never have that chance. And here, the entire world was watching, and I was going to make sure that those girls got their due.
Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome. All right, we have had just a long, hard week weather-wise, so let's turn our attention to spring. Certainly. And we are moving from eras. What are your thoughts about losing Jim Leland up at Tiger Stadium or Comerica and moving into the Brad Ausmus era?
I will miss Jim Leland. The fact that we both kind of originated in the Toledo area. And my dad used to tell me, now my dad died in 1998, but he followed Jim Leland's career as a manager with Pittsburgh. And my dad always told me, son, if Jimmy Leland, he always called him Jimmy, if Jimmy Leland and the Tigers ever get together, watch out. Because they're going to be the class of baseball. And for the last 8 years, we have been.
How about that?
Yeah, the old man was pretty
pretty
good when he did baseball.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting Brad Ausmus, which I will do in a couple of weeks at Tiger Fest. I'll be up there announcing a bunch of Tiger Fest activities, but then I have to leave to get out to Ann Arbor because I'll be doing women's gymnastics. That's something else that I've added to the.
No kidding.
That and college volleyball. I've done a season of college volleyball. Now that I don't have the hockey stuff that I'm doing, it's opened up some more dates.
And still doing U of M baseball, yes?
Oh, U of M baseball, basketball, yes. I've got some big games coming up with the men's team, including Michigan State in a couple of weeks. So regrettably, we don't play Ohio State at home this year.
Yeah,
but we get Indiana again, the last game of the season. Indiana's on some hard times this year after losing Oladipo and some of those guys. But it's Big Ten basketball.
Yeah, of course.
And I can't believe there was any conference last year that was as good as the Big Ten. The Indiana game, Michigan, Indiana. Do you know that 6 guys who played that game are in the NBA now?
Isn't that unbelievable?
And we saw them, 4 months ago? 5 months ago.
Let's go back to baseball for just a second. As you go to Tigers Fest, do you feel kind of an uncertainty among the fans as to what this Ausmus era is going to be? Do you think losing the players that the Tigers have lost is going to hurt this season?
I'll answer the second one first.
Yes.
Never bet against Dave Dombrowski. If he brought in those players, it's because they will do very, very well. The Tigers will be a different kind of team. We're not going to pummel you to death. We're going to run around you this year. Plus, we've got the best closer in baseball now with Joe Nathan. Oh my gosh, he closed 36 games. I think that's what it was. Yeah, 36 games because that's his number. He closed 36 games against the Tigers. Never blew a save. That's 36 times now. We don't have to worry about getting beat by Joe Nathan, isn't it? Because he's now in our bullpen. And so I'm really enthused about some of the guys we've got coming in. I've got a special introduction for Jabba Chamberlain. I'm not going to intro it now, but I really believe the Tigers are going to be a different team, but still the class of baseball. Remember, even though we traded off Pfister, that just means we moved Smiley up. That's one of the nice things about being the Tigers. You have that luxury of having those arms. Now, as for the fans, I don't know their reaction because I haven't seen them yet and I haven't heard their questions. One of the nice things about working Tiger Fest, I sit right next to the stage where they do all the interviews, where Brad Ausmus will be, where Joe Nathan will be, where Miguel Cabrera will be. I get to hear the questions from the fans and feel their enthusiasm.
Right.
So I'll know in late January, but I don't know yet. But these are Tiger fans.
Talk to people about, we hear it all the time in broadcast, here at 13 ABC, we're supposed to state a script, not ad-lib as much as we do sometimes, although it's fun. How much in your job of announcing, PA announcing, when we see things like the Winter Classic, when we hear you calling a shot that Robinson made at U of M, how much freedom do you have to have fun with it?
In basketball, there's a little more freedom because you're actually calling the action as it happens. In baseball,
not so much play-by-play, but just as it happens.
And you help the crowd build.
Right.
I've also been guilty a couple of times of making them boo when I was in the minor leagues. When Drew Henson would come up, I must confess, I would go, Drew Henson. And then, of course, 10,000 people at Fifth Third Field then would boo. But in basketball, your personality is a lot of it. In baseball, one of the first things my boss with the Tigers said, if I don't see it written on your script, I don't want to hear it on the PA system.
Okay.
And, okay, this is the big leagues.
Yeah.
This is what we do. Although I was a big ad-libber when I was in the minor leagues with the Mud Hens. But with the Tigers, stay with the script. But they allow me to do my introductions because every introduction, I try to introduce every player the same way for him every time.
Favorite player name ever? Either, any sport.
And starting in left field, number 18, Matt Tuiasosopo.
and a new one as well. So, from that standpoint.
But Jose Iglesias is a lot of fun too.
Yes.
Jose Iglesias. And Avisail Garcia, that was the toughest name. Somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, what was the toughest name you ever had to do? And Avisail Garcia, who we traded to the White Sox, was the toughest one because Avisail, the name didn't progress like we in the Western world expect it to do. So I had to say it differently than I would have said it.
Bob, good to see you. Thank you so much. Continued good work to you, and we will hear you on the other side, as they say.
I'll